The definition of atonement is in the word itself, at-one-ment. To atone is to take two otherwise discordant things and reconcile them so that they exist together in harmony, or at once. Religious terms like sin and reconciliation come to mind, but I don't want to talk old Christian connotations. I want to look at the narrative stage identified by Joseph Campbell, known as Atonement with the Father. You've seen it before, you just may not have noticed it. Here's an example. In Tron Legacy, Jeff Bridges takes his knowledge of quantum teleportation learned from the 80s cult classic Tron and creates his own grid, or world. He creates programs to oversee and further the world, like Clue, a program with one sole purpose: to create the perfect system. If Flynn was God and his programs were angels, then Clue would be Lucifer. Clue chooses to rule over a techno-gladiatorial hell rather than serve in Flynn's vision of heaven, the yin to Flynn's yang. To paraphrase Campbell, atonement with the Father is about abandoning this self-generated double monster of the angel on one's right and the devil on one's left. In psychological terms, it's about taking off one's mask, or detaching from the ego, and accepting that the superego which drives one to be altruistic and the id, which drives one's animalistic desires, are two sides of the same coin. By the end of the film, in order to save his son, Flynn does just that. He abandons the self-generated double monster. He stops pretending that Clue is somehow separate from him despite creating him, and physically accepts Clue back into his being. In this moment, Sam Flynn sees the true face of his father, that of a god, and a devil, atoned, at one. To be clear, Campbell's motif doesn't strictly deal with the father.
I am your father.
The father is a metaphor for the one thing that holds the most power over the hero.
It's not true! That's impossible!
For me, the father is just a metaphor for the universe. When looking at it through this lens, it may help to atone for a world that both nurtures life and decays it. In the case of Last of Us, the atonement has less to do with the father and everything to do with the daughter. It's something you've seen before, but again, you may not have recognized it. Last of Us presents a world where the flora and fauna have taken over civilization as we know it. In the game, humanity has lost out to nature, both without, where the air turns you into an abomination, and within, where every man and woman must face dark decisions that determine their survival. Last of Us follows Joel, a man who lost everything the night the world went to pot.
Please don't. Oh no. Sarah. Move your hands, babe. I know, baby, I know. Listen to me, I know this hurts, baby. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. All right, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby, I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby, I know. Sarah.
Joel is a rusted reflection of the world that surrounds him. He's tasked by an underground movement known as the Fireflies to escort a young woman named Ellie past a military barricade, but this simple task turns into a cross-country trip. Joel's first impression of Ellie is that of a loudmouth kid.
Take all my food, too, while you're at it.
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
Listen to me, you little shit.
No, fuck you!
But he's quickly forced to reconcile that image with her almost supernatural
it's 3
biology.
Weeks old.
And it's already worse. This is fucking real, Joel.
How the hell are you breathing in this stuff?
I wasn't lying to you.
She's like those discordant things working together in harmony that I spoke of before: humanity and brutality. In every instance where Ellie proves herself capable, Joel refuses to acknowledge it, even when she saves his life.
I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?
And you just hang back like I told you to.
Well, you're glad I didn't, right?
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
It's only when Joel is back against the wall that he accepts that the girl in his care can be dangerous.
You seem to know your way around a gun.
This is difficult for him because he has to atone the memory of his daughter with the reality of Ellie. His daughter wasn't naive or innocent,
I sell hardcore drugs.
but she died before ever having to get her hands dirty. To accept Ellie as truly dangerous would be to tarnish the picture-perfect memory of his Sarah, and come to terms with the fact that had she lived, she would have grown up to be just like Ellie, a survivor. Despite his attempts to objectify Ellie as just cargo,
Joel.
she becomes something real.
It's on a bra. It was a booby trap.
The longer he spends with Ellie, the longer he likens her to his daughter.
Not her, you know.
Hence why he tries to pass her off, because the only thing that scares him more than the army, fireflies, or even clickers is losing his daughter again.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
Eventually, he accepts his role as her keeper, protecting her from the dangers of the world around. This may come from a well-intentioned desire to preserve some semblance of childhood for Ellie, but there's a selfish aspect to it as well. By protecting Ellie from fully realizing her true potential to be dangerous, he maintains that angelic memory of his daughter. Ultimately, he can't protect Ellie from realizing her true potential within her nature to be dangerous. And when the responsibility of Joel's life falls squarely on her shoulders during the winter, she has to face her darkest moment all on her own. She stares into the abyss, and he smiles back. Forced to face a gang of zealous cannibals on her own, she plays every card in her book from trickery to stealth until finally she has to resort to pure violence in a burning cafe. Anyone who's played this moment in the game on grounded difficulty knows how terrifying it is to try and listen for the leader of the gang and see no outline. To truly feel hunted. Even mentioning it now raises hair on the back of my neck. The irony of this moment is that when David boasts, "You have no idea what I'm capable of," it's then that Ellie finds out what she is truly capable of. This revelation overshadows the spring for both of them, and Joel does his best to pull Ellie out of the abyss she finds herself in. As a player, I wanted to remind her of lighter days when she was trying to learn how to whistle, or reading from her book of puns. Anything to pull her out of the doldrums.
Are you alright?
I'm trying to learn how to whistle. The book just fell on my head. I only have myself to blame. Or wait, I said it wrong. Hold on, let me read it again. A book just fell on my head. I only have my shelf to blame.
Ellie!
Thankfully, there's a rescue from without, in the form of zoo animals. It's hard to reconcile the girl that just wants to pet a giraffe with the girl that turned a would-be rapist's head into red mash, but in this moment, I think that Joel abandons that self-generated double monster of the angelic little girl and the brutal murderer and sees a fully realized young woman, a survivor, at once humane and brutal. It's also in this moment he remembers that the Fireflies still see her as a means to an end of the virus, and he suggests that Ellie doesn't have to meet the Fireflies or undergo surgery.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
the other option?
Go back to Tommy's. Just be done with this whole damn thing.
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.
When they finally meet the Fireflies, Joel is informed that it's impossible to remove the cure within Ellie's head without killing her. The Fireflies have decided to go along with the surgery anyhow. Whether selflessly or selfishly, he gets Ellie
This is our
back.
future. Think of all the lives we'll save.
Ellie may not agree with the decision to sacrifice herself for all of mankind, but she doesn't seem to be too fond of the greater good idea either.
You sacrificed the few to save the many.
It's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Besides, for Joel to let Ellie die in order to save humanity itself is to let the one thing that humanity stands for die in the process. And that's something that Joel simply cannot atone.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.